I'm not sure what Satanism. Well, I mean, I think there are Satanists who are going to tell you, dude, like, yeah, I mean, it's a real, but we don't believe in raping kids, though. What the hell's the matter with you, right? And so, like, that's where this conversation gets really weird, because you want to say, well, it's like, well, dude, if you're a Satanist, right, how far could you be? But, like, there are plenty of Satanists who are going to be like, no, you're not doing that to us, right? So, I mean, be difficult in here. Jay-Z, pretty heavy-handed with the response. As a matter of fact, when people deny these types of things, we often say, I don't like this, little PR, little too CYA. I want to be more heavy-handed. Keep it out here. Give me the 100 emoji. Jay-Z did, kind of. This is the response. My lawyer received a blackmail attempt, called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. We had what he calculated was the nature of these allegations, and public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. Capitalized, that is. These allegations, this is the part that I was talking about right here. The defense of him. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? These alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. This lawyer, who I had done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these types of theatrics. Uh-oh. In the defense of Jay-Z, are we about to exonerate Deshaun Watson here? Because, like, that's kind of what he just said, right? Like, that's what he just said, right? I have no idea how you have come to be such a deplorable human, Mr. Busby, but I promise you I have seen your kind many times over. I'm more than prepared to deal with your type. You claim to be a Marine. Marines are known for their valor. You have neither honor nor dignity. My only heartbreak is for my family, my wife, and I have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such that at a young age. It is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families and human spirits. Good God. My heart and support goes out to true victims in the world who have to watch how their life story is dressed in costume for profitability by this ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. You have made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the project out of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. Only your network of conspiracy theorists, fake physics, will believe the idiotic claims you have levied against me. That if not for all the seriousness surrounding harm to the kids would be laughable. I look forward to showing you just how different I am. It's pretty heavy-handed. I like this part. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. And here's why I like it. Because that's what people think when they see cases like this. And Jay-Z knew that. He knows what people are going to think. If it's just a civil case, it's about getting paid. Whether it's true or not, whether that's the reality or not, does not matter. It is how we think. And so that comes off like a very good defense of yourself. Does it mean he didn't do it? No. But, like, this is, bitch, I dare you. Like, versus we and blah, 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 and at this time, and respect my family's privacy, and, like, we're going to do this. Most people hide behind the polished PR statement. This is Jay-Z saying, bitch, I hope you do. I wish he would, right? I wish a MFer would. And that will always come off more like you're innocent than hiding behind your team. Doesn't mean you are. Doesn't mean that at all. But it will definitely, this will ring the authenticity bell in a way polished statements do not. I also think this is a little bit of an effect of you're seeing social media changing the world in front of you. Good or bad I'm not necessarily making that claim. But what you're seeing here is the polished statements don't work anymore. That's not what it is anymore. You got to talk like how a person would now when this stuff happens. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I'm noticing, right? We want people in these moments to make these types of defenses for themselves. Look like you're innocent. And he has at least done that. I don't think it makes sense. Just like I didn't think people said, oh my God, they were at 2 different after parties after that award show. One was in New York, the other's in Jersey. Oh, you mean over the bridge? I've never lived in New York or New Jersey. Both of them have. I've been in New York, I've been in New Jersey, and in the same very night, I went from New York to Jersey to get something to eat back. So if I can do it in from out of town, what the hell could Sean Carter and Sean Combs do with all the money in the world? Thank you. If Uber can get a schmuck like me across the bridge back in 2 states in one night, then I'm sorry, then that can happen after parties. This is a pretty heavy-handed response. And the fact that it's Tony Busby, and watch now, because the Deshaun Watson cases are going to be dragged into this for sure because they're connected by this lawyer.
The Stansberry Show.
He's insane. Sleep with him.
On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program. 8 o'clock. We'll sit down and talk to Scott from winningfornextyear.com. He presented by Beavers Marine. Get his take on the Browns' loss yesterday in Pittsburgh. Also, the Cavs losing in South Beach. Little case of the South Beach flu happened to the Cavs last night. They're 21-4 on the year. They'll probably be okay. We'll talk to Scott about it. What you and I have been talking about is Jay-Z, named in a lawsuit refiled yesterday. This original lawsuit filed back in October around Diddy, Sean Combs, who's been incarcerated, and now refiled yesterday to include Sean Carter, known the world round as Jay-Z. Jay-Z has dismissed this, and very heavy-handed. I mean, he went so far as to say in this, I want to find that these allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? I mean, that's pretty strong defense of himself, right? You know? Now, that doesn't mean he's innocent. It doesn't. And I would imagine that if we find out these allegations with Diddy are 100% true, there are going to be other A-listers who were involved in it. How many people we actually see hang for it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, come on. I mean, we kind of know how stuff works. Although, plenty of things in the world are changing, maybe. But it will be A-listers who are listed here. You think you and I were going to get invited to Diddy's house? No. You think Diddy's like pulling you and I out of like the 30th row and be like, yo, man, you want to go do some awful stuff? No. It's going to be his buddies. It's going to be who he was hanging out with. Now, I didn't remember this. And I wish I had the song here. I don't. But apparently MC Hammer, once upon a time, had released a song accusing Jay-Z of making a deal with the devil. Now, this was a response to Jay-Z kind of talking about MC Hammer losing all his money. And he said something about, you know, I don't know, I lost 30 million, so I spent another 30 million because unlike Hammer, 30 million can't hurt me. You know, that's for those of you who don't listen to a lot of hip hop, it's especially late 80s, you know, into the 90s, it was how much money can you acquire and what are you going to spend it on? And, you know, that's the whole thing. It's like stacking chips, right? And like, that's the whole thing. It's like, I have more money than you. I'm clearly a better person than you. That's literally the entire genre, right? And so he's kind of mocking MC Hammer. Now, before I go too far into Hammer's response here, I'll say, you know, MC Hammer went broke trying to be decent to the people who knew him before he was MC Hammer. They took advantage of him. He wasted the money, and yes, it's foolish. Yes, 100% is. Okay? For all the ways we have seen celebrities lose all of their money and screw up their persona, their life, whatever the hell it is, trying to help your friends is probably one of the best ways. Right? Trying to be decent to people and create companies and hire people, that's probably one of the best. If you're going to make bad moves for yourself, I'll take that over flipping cars in Nice. Right? Like, I'll take that. So apparently MC Hammer then responded. This is all the way back in like 2010, I think. The song is called Better Run, Run. And the video apparently shows a Jay-Z lookalike collaborating with Satan. That in his studio, recording the lyrics, "Jesus Can't Save You." Apparently, the song suggests that Jay-Z's success stems from a pact with the devil. Quote, "Devil said, I'm gonna give you the world. I'll take it, plus give me a girl," he goes on to have Satan state that a hand gesture representing Jay-Z's Rockefeller record label, the diamond thing there, which people also think is Illuminati and all kind of stuff, because that's exactly what they're going to do, shove it right in your face, right? Although maybe the boldness, fair enough. The video concludes with Hammer baptizing the Jay-Z stand-in by pushing him into a lake. Oh my God. So, again, MC Hammer kind of, now, I don't think that that's necessarily all the way he's a Satanist. I think MC Hammer saying Jay-Z sold his soul to the record label devil, right? Not necessarily the devil. I could be dead wrong there, all right? I didn't even know this was a thing. So what I don't know about it could fill this room. Okay, so I'll give you that. That one seems a little, I did not know about that. Let me see if I can find better run and see if we can play that for you. It's just, that sounds pretty interesting. I did not know about it. Or at least didn't remember. All right, so a couple of things on this Jay-Z thing. At 9 o'clock, we're going to have to talk about the NFL a little. And I mean a lot. So we'll do that. You guys want a conspiracy theory on Jay-Z? One you probably haven't heard somewhere else? You want one? All right, here you go. You know he had Biggie's. Tupac Biggie beef. Look at his unrest. I bet if one of these dudes wasn't here, I'd become the king in New York. Oh my God, would you look at that? That's the conspiracy theory on Jay-Z you might want to look at.
The Stansberry Show.
What's up with this guy's voice? He sounds like a monster.
On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show here on Rock 106.9, Mondays at 8. Presented by Beavers Marine. We talked to the co-founder of waitingfornextyear.com, my buddy Scott. You can find him on his X platform at WFNY Scott. My man, how are you this Monday morning?
Doing all right, man. Another weekend in the books. Looks Mother Nature is a little more brutal this time around than we talked last time.
Yeah, man, just absolutely getting hammered with it. Let's talk Cavaliers to start, Scott. I mean, you lose last night in South Beach to the Heat. It's 122-113 Heat over Cavs. The Cavs are 21-4. I'm not going to overreact to losing at South Beach. It kind of feels like a little South Beach flu kind of crept into the Cavaliers lineup a little bit there. They're mostly okay, right?
Yeah, I think so. Game plan was obviously, impacted when Mobley was out. So it seems like he's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's over.
Funny enough, I know this is a little anecdotal and there's some noise in it, but the Cavs are 3-24 in Miami since 2010. So I mean that's the good team, that's the bad team. It's obviously that's the last couple of years of very competitive basketball.
That happens to teams in Miami. Yeah, it does. It happens.
Yeah, it's like guerrilla warfare a little bit. They they have a way of impacting games in a way that a lot of other cities do not. If Vegas ever gets an NBA franchise,
You'll hear it there too.
I would expect something similar. It's just, I think just, schedule loss probably more than anything else. And like you said, they're, I would still, assume power ranked, if not one of the top teams in basketball, heading into the tail end of the calendar year.
Talking to Scott from waitingfornextyear.com. Now we'll switch over to college football. The playoff is set. We now know who's playing who, and it's Tennessee at Ohio State in Kirk Herbstreit, Buckeye. It said, this might actually work against Ohio State. Their fans could be a little finicky. If Ryan Day starts getting booed on third down, you might have been better off playing on the road. He's clearly just throwing some shade at the Buckeye fans, correct?
Probably a little bit. But I think, fans are understandably frustrated with the way that Michigan game went.
Yes.
I will tell you, jumping out to a 17-0 lead will calm a lot of that if they can figure out a way to make that happen at home. Tough draw, I think. Given where they ended up having to potentially play Oregon. If they win, I think there's given that Arizona State and Boise both made the top four.
Yeah.
Probably would have preferred one of those other sleeves, but that's the sort of the bed they made. when they, lost outright despite being like a 20-point favorite at home to Michigan. So, you gotta kind of take the good with the bad there.
Well, look at Oregon. I mean, you might have to play. I mean, it's probably going to be Ohio State, right? Is probably what's going to happen there. Then Texas, and then most likely Georgia if they want to win the title. I mean, dude, that's a little bit of a gauntlet for Oregon.
Tough draw for the 1 seed, right? Yeah, I think that's a product of the, sort of the way that they formulated the playoff. I'm still all for the 12 teams. I think it's
a seeding issue.
I think it's added a bit of a different allure. But I think if you're going, the tough part is, and listen, Arizona State and Boise State shouldn't be punished for the conferences there, and they don't, choose that necessarily. Right. So, but putting them in giving them, I mean, if you're seeding just based on AP, the bracket looks a lot different, right? And I think Oregon ends up in a better spot. And I would suspect if Oregon doesn't win
change it.
The title, we're going to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, hey, if as long as whatever the process was to not have Alabama be in it, I think is a good one.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be absolutely loving that. Talking to Scott from readingfornextyear.com, now presented by Beavers Marine. New Godfrey 25 models in the showroom, online, beaversmarinestore.com. Obviously, Scott, we got to talk about Browns on the road in Pittsburgh yesterday, now officially eliminated from the playoffs. That happened a few weeks ago in our minds, but now officially yesterday. Again, it kind of feels like you get the full Jameis Winston experience here. Kevin Stefanski exhausted on the sideline by his kicker missing 2 kicks, and Jameis with, 2 interceptions. Jameis, I said to you last week, kind of feels like a little Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's a little Fitzmagic in this, that while he's doing it, it kind of feels fun. Once you hand him the reins and he's your guy, it never feels as fun. I think a lot of people are over the Jameis Winston experience now. Where are the Cleveland Browns quarterback-wise after this season moving forward? Do you believe Deshaun Watson is the starter week 1 next year?
So a couple things. I was talking to my dad last night,
okay.
And he's like, if he could just not throw those interceptions, and I said, well, if he didn't throw those interceptions, he wouldn't have been available, for the like he'd be
wow, good take.
If he was only the Jameis that threw touchdowns and 400 yards a game, he's not.
He's still
not available for the He's not. So you guys, that's kind of part of it, right? These guys are available because they have flaws, and you could figure out a way to minimize them. And the downside is when you get into a 2-score deficit, and Jameis, and it's again. I would rather have a quarterback who's aggressive and throws the ball downfield, and I think that puts you in a better position to win. But obviously, if you miss Elijah Moore by 3 feet and it goes right into the hands of the defensive back, that's obviously not what you want. Right?
Effing believable. Right, yeah, exactly.
Again, and also, like I told him, he was asking about Stefanski. I'm like, Stefanski didn't call the interception play. It wasn't like he said, hey, throw it to the other team. Or it wasn't like he called the field goal, the special team situation to miss the kick. I mean, he's putting this team in position to do things, and they're just not executing. And I think that's why you lead to the exasperated, facial expressions that you saw on the sideline Sunday. I mean, he's a bit of a beaten man between what the way this team started and some of the. Hey, they have a chance to only not win, right? Like you saw in Denver, like you saw yesterday. So, and then to answer your other question, I hope not. I would assume you saw Kirk Cousins. I think
it might be over.
Kirk's a great person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it might be over.
A couple weeks ago on this show. But the last month for him, just don't know what the future holds for Deshaun. I know the team and the media, and there's been a lot of reports that he is trying to go into next season, telling fans they're going to compete for, within the AFC North with that quarterback, under center. So a lot is going to happen between now and then. I would suspect Jameis will not be here.
Okay, that was my next question.
They will figure that part out again. He's going to be the second backup quarterback to have been more popular than.
Well, that's just it. Is that why they're going to do it? Is that why they're going to move off of Jameis? Is it because if that's why it pisses me off, if it's because he's too expensive and he's not the right guy and too many picks, if it's about a football reason, I love it. If it's about, well, we think Deshaun's coming back and he doesn't like this, so we're going to do this, now, because you're tripling down on a bad decision at that point.
Yeah, well, I think their thought process is just like with Flacco. If we can get a quarterback to be at Joe's level or better, and not be Joe with the sort of noise that comes with that, I think you do that. Now,
yeah, but how
what
do you
they
do
did is they found another quarterback who is very endearing to fans.
You would be more endearing to fans than Deshaun Watson. You could throw 6 picks. Like, there's literally, he is the least likable guy in the league. There's nobody you put in the backup role who doesn't create this situation, is my point. So why go and create it again for the 3rd time in a row to just prove that it's his fault?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah. Well, you know, what is it? It's what is it? What's the saying? That the common denominator in all your failed relationships is you.
Yes.
Right? Like, so I think at some point, it's not everybody else. It is.
Not sure I deserve that swipe at me, but okay, fair enough. Yes, okay, fair.
You have to. They're gonna. I mean, at some point, they're gonna start costing themselves jobs if they keep leaning on this guy. And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever find out. Who's kind of pulling the levers here. Everybody's rowing in the same direction when they're in front of a microphone. And I think, but at some point you can't come into the season as a potential Super Bowl hopeful to win 3 games.
I think it's the guy who decided to shape the scoreboard like a different state. I think it might have been, I think it might be that guy. I could be dead wrong.
Yeah,
that's my hunch there. That's Scott from winningfornextyear.com on his X platform at WFNY Scott, now presented by Beavers Marine, beaversmarinestore.com. Buddy, thank you seriously for another great year. I hope you have a great holiday and Happy New Year and all that. Let's catch up after the first of the year. Go Browns. Hopefully they beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, you as well, man. Always great joining you guys, and shout out to the listener.
Absolutely. Situation, he now being listed in a court case, refiled yesterday. I think there's going to be a little bit of a problem with he in the NFL now. Or at least usually there would be. I guess we'll wait and see what the NFL does there. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. All right, I saw this. Okay, by the time I wake up tomorrow, this will be a thing for sure. And this centers around some sports too, but it's about my industry, the broadcasting. That's what kind of piqued my interest in it. This is just how a lot of people feel. All men feel this way. They don't, but apparently more than a few do. So we're getting close to the end of the college football season, and the games start to matter. Now I was not as blue journalist, if we will. One of the broadcasts featured 3 women standing around talking about the games. That was their broadcasting, 3 women, right? And TJ then posted this, said, who actually wants to watch 3 women stand around and talk about football? I do not. Now, making a statement about a particular female broadcaster. And he responded and said, this tweet is upsetting somebody. He says, no apology and no retracts. Most people agree with me. They're afraid to say it. Having said that, I will remind you, I've told you before, and this is 100% true. The biggest football fan in my personal family, it would not have been close, would have been my father's mother, Joseph. Was the biggest football fan in my family. Wasn't close. Bigger than me, my brother, all of us. Started to come into the sports broadcasting thing. And what were we told? It was representation. And it matters. Environments they're taking part in. And understand it. Where is the representation? We should have addressed this. Not that women can't talk football. It's literally something you can learn. By the way, you know what Barstool just recently did? Now, this guy is very unpopular. But John Gruden, they had Gruden come in and grill their staff on what they know and don't know about football. And they said, here's the whiteboard. And Gruden said, all right, if I call out Y zebra, X over Y, X this, that, where does the 2 deep safety go? I have no idea. Right. Right. So, I mean, with the amount of people who think they know the game and don't, by that I mean every last one of us, right? Like, I mean, come on. It's something you can watch, learn, consume, and get smart at. Women can do that, I'm sorry. Like, we know they can do that. Women are doing more complicated things than this. Now, whether or not you want to listen to them, all right? Okay? You know, I tried to think to myself, what's the male equivalent here? Like, what would ladies be like? I don't want to hear 3 men sit around and talk about this. The only thing I could come up with was abortion. But like outside of that, it would have been what? Like reality shows? But they do that. We have plenty of men podcasters talking about shows. We have plenty of like, hey, we're going to get the cast back together and go back and look at the tape when they were throwing cocktails at one another, hosted by some man. Like they do that. So now 3 is a little nuts. It is, because like I said, you're right, representation matters. Who is representing me here? Who is representing the beer drinking fan? Don't Bud Light this in a different way. And by that I mean, don't not woke it, just don't misunderstand your audience here. There's hires. And I remember I said, did you just tell me I will never get offered another job ever again if I should happen to lose this one? Because that kind of sounds like what you said, right? And like and people are like, oh, okay. So like we know what we're doing. Because this definitely feels like one of the, he said. I don't think most men care if a female broadcaster is on the call. You know how I know? They hate Joe Buck. They hate Troy Aikman. They hate Jim Nantz. They hate Tony Romo. They hate Tom Brady. They hate them all. So you might as well let them do. Right? Get her ass in there, dude. They're just gonna hate her. They hate all the men too. They hate all the goats too. You know why? Because hating the broadcaster goes along with watching the goddamn game. It's part of it. Bitching about them goes along with the game. That goes all the way back to, like, I mean, Myron Cope and, like, I'm talking the old school dudes. There's, of course,